to Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul. My co-host Justin Baker and I are here to talk Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Calgary Flames, and the Los Angeles Kings as we kind of begin to wrap up the teams that are in playoff contention, just doing a deep dive into all these teams. But before we jump into those four teams, Justin, you have a trade proposal that could be fantastic for both teams. I want to hear it again as I'm having some time now to digest it. It does involve the Leafs, so anytime that happens, I get a pretty solid stiffy, and that's my trade stiffy. I'm here. I'm very aware of what's happening right now. I'm extra in the moment, we'll say.
Yeah. First off, let me just say, speaking of erections.
Oh, here we go.
I was rather flaccid the other night watching Detroit lose to Arizona. They scored 9 goals, the most in franchise history since moving in from Winnipeg again. So
7 points for Nick Schmaltz.
The guy's got 17 points in the last 2 games. It's crazy what Arizona's doing, but consolation prize. Jacob Baran is back for Detroit, I guess. I don't know how else to look at it. And
those games you just say, well, that was a weird game, and you just move on. Right. They're never going to allow 9 goals again. It's not. It'll be fine. It's like that Leafs 10-7 game. Well,
I was going to say, I thought the Wings wouldn't let that many.
That was against Detroit, wasn't it?
Right. I would figure they'd never let that many goals in again, and then what do they do a few games later? Right?
There goes that. Well, I guess at least they didn't let in 10 again.
There you go. Silver lining.
Yikes. Okay, let's hear your trade proposal. You are on the clock.
Yes. So if I'm Toronto, right, the one thing I'm looking at is obviously everybody's screaming goaltender. And right now there's not a ton of big-name goaltenders outside of Marc-Andre Fleury that are really going to make a huge impact, right? Yes, you can go out and make a move here for maybe a lesser-known goaltender, but really is it that big of an upgrade? I think more or less what Toronto really could use more than anything is a top 2 defenseman to really, relieve some of the pressure to Morgan Riley and TJ Brody. And so to me, I love the move of sending William Nylander to Arizona for Jacob Chychrun.
It is a fascinating prospect. William Nylander he's got 22 goals. He's probably going to score 30 this year. He's probably going to end up with around 70 to 80 points. He would become definitely Arizona's best offensive player. There's no doubt about that. I guess my initial thoughts are the problem is that he's 25 years old, so he is older than Jacob Chychrun. So I think it would probably have to be Nylander plus something. Probably a first or a second or something. Or a prospect. I would imagine that they're hoping to get back more in the futures thing. Whereas Nylander, Nylander, he's got a big deal. He's got plenty of time left on his deal. He's got another 2 years. Yeah, I guess that would be probably the stop for Arizona is the 2 years left because he'd be out. He would leave Arizona, and you're not going to get as much for Chychrun as you do Nylander. So what else are the Leafs throwing in there to really sweeten the pot? Because, Arizona could easily make that deal, have some prospects and picks and Nylander, and then go and flip Nylander and turn him into another couple first-round picks.
Sure. Yeah, and maybe, in my mind, maybe you throw in, a defensive prospect. Maybe you throw in and really make it interesting because, again, I look at Toronto and I see they had the first and the second this year, but they really don't have any mid-round picks or late picks after that. And so maybe if you're Toronto, you're still trying to get some assets back outside of Nylander. So maybe you try to get like a third or second round pick from, from Arizona in return, because they've got a bevy of second-round picks right now. So maybe you throw in a guy like a Timothy Liljegren or Rasmus Sandin and try to sweeten the pot.
I don't think they're doing that.
I don't think so either.
I mean, Sandin at this point, he's playing top four minutes, and he's not quite there, but he's going to be. It's very apparent he's going to be.
Sure. Or
Timothy
maybe a
Liljegren's
Travis Dermott.
Sorry?
Maybe a Travis Dermott, right? You throw him in there.
Okay, a Dermott. Yep, that would make a little more sense. Or Justin Hall or something like that. I guess Chychrun he kind of plays both sides, but he's a left-handed shot. So I think, yes, he's a left-handed shot. So it would make probably more sense to get rid of Dermott because Hall can play that other side. But I mean, I love the hockey trade. Anytime a hockey trade even has a little potential, I think it's a wonderful idea. I mean, I think Chychrun would solve a lot of the Leafs' issues. The only issue I see with it for the Leafs is that by getting rid of Nylander, you're making a top six that like is super top heavy, even weaker. Like they need Nylander for that second line to really go, and without him, I don't know how effective like a Tavares might be or Kerfoot. Like you can kind of slide Nylander all over the place, and it really limits your options. So that would be the concern. Is I could see if Nicholas Robertson was scoring like his bro, then yeah, Nylander's expendable. But he's just as needed as the Leafs need a defenseman, in my mind. So you're kind of swapping one problem for the other. Although, Chychrun is cheaper and has a longer deal, so there is that too. It would give you more flexibility to bring somebody else in. So there's that.
Exactly. And I think, again, that flexibility, right? Maybe you can get Arizona to take a guy like, Kerfoot with you too. And so now you've opened up even more cap flexibility, right?
In the offseason, that deal could happen. Right now,
sure.
No way in hell that happens. The Leafs aren't giving up two players in their top six in exchange for a defenseman. I don't think that would fly.
No, I agree. But there are some cheap options out there you could go out and snag to maybe try to fill in, I guess, quote unquote, with, the missing, I guess, scoring that you're going to lack, by getting rid of Nylander. Because to me, Tavares is a guy who I think you can put, like middle six guys on his wing and he's going to make them better. Right. So,
yeah, but he hasn't really been he hasn't been nearly as effective this season as he has in the past. Like he really looks like, the last 3 years of this $11 million a year deal, yes, he's still averaging about a point per game, which it's fantastic. I think that it's more the players that are playing with him than it is him. It's not to say that he's not still playing at an elite level, but boy, I don't know that he's a point per game player if he's not playing with Nylander.
Interesting. Okay. Well, hey, if that's the case, then obviously if you're Toronto, you're saying, well, crap, we can't trade this guy right now, right? Nylander's not going anywhere if that's the way you think.
But you go, well, we could get Chychrun, and suddenly our offense maybe is just produced in a different way. Like all of a sudden you have this a defenseman who's capable offensively, and that could really change up a whole lot. It is I don't know that Arizona would do it. That I think that Arizona doesn't care about where the Leafs' strengths are. I think they just probably would want more, and I don't know that the Leafs have the more that they'd be looking for. I guess like a Matthew Nyes, you throw him in there, and you can do a lot, but at what cost? If you're going to acquire a defenseman and give up a forward, the prospects you're probably trying to give up are probably defensemen. So maybe you were right earlier. Like a Liljegren might be a more reasonable, like, hey, Liljegren could probably end up being a second pairing defenseman, like an average second pairing defenseman. So, yeah, he could be worth giving up in that deal. You're going to have to make space for a new defenseman. Anyways, but I don't think you're giving up on Sandin yet. He looks like he's going to be real good. But it is a very interesting thought. Did you hear anyone else talking about this, or was this just like, if you were the general manager, this is the deal you'd make?
Well, I mean, I have said for a while, right, if I had to make a move, if I'm Toronto, right, I think Nylander's the guy to push out because he's going to get you a good return. Now, I did come across this on Sportsnet. They were one of their amateur scouts was on there talking about moves at the deadline and went in for quite a while as far as Toronto's needs, right? And I think obviously they have a few concerns and gosh, I can't remember the stat it was, but basically Campbell is obviously not the goaltender he was at the first third of the season, and he's allowed just a crap ton of goals. And lately, I think 4 goals on his last 5 games played or more. So, so there's some concern there. And I don't know if, Mrazek and Campbell are really the 2 guys you want to go in the playoffs with. But, again, maybe you tighten up that defense, right? And this is where that Nylander trade came in. You tighten up the defense. You structurally improve on that back end, and that makes goaltending a little bit easier for those 2 guys.
Give up fewer high-risk
qualities,
chances. Yes. Yeah. I still believe that Jack Campbell is going to figure it out, and so will Mrazek. I think Mrazek is more. I mean, this is year 1 for Mrazek with a new team, coming from a team that played kind of like differently than the Leafs. So I'm willing to give him, a full half a season, which I know we're a little past the half season, but not that much. I'm willing to give him time to kind of acclimate to this team. With Campbell, I don't know what's going on, but you don't go from being the goalie he was earlier in the year to all of a sudden just being absolute garbage. Like, something's going on. They're going to figure it out. I think I have it. You don't often see that, where a guy's just, he frankly, it's not even like last year. He was good too. So I think this is the anomaly, not the other way that he was playing. So, I mean, only time will tell, but I think, as we near the playoffs, it's gonna come together for him. And I don't think that goaltending will be the issue. It really is going to be, I mean, it's just the playoffs are the issue for the Leafs. They just have to win.
Yeah, and the way it's looking, Boston's creeping up, so could make things rather interesting.
Yep, Boston is they're 4 points as of this. They're 5 points now.
5 points,
because the Leafs racked off 2 in a row. That helped. So that put them in a little bit better of a spot. I still think when all is said and done, Boston is the wild card. I don't think that they're on a nice run right now. Don't get me wrong, but they haven't proven that they've gone on some nice runs this year. Haven't proven that they can just rattle off 4 wins, lose 1, 4 wins. Like they're not dominating the way that maybe they have in the past. So I think they're still a good team. They'll still be dangerous. I mean, whoever finishes first in this division, who pulls Boston in the first round, good luck. Like, that's not a series that I wish on anyone. It's going to be a tough series. Tough first round. Even if you win it, it's a tough first round. It's definitely not going to sweep the Bruins, that's for sure.
That is for sure.
Okay, shall we move into our 4 teams that we're covering today?
Let's do it.
Let's start with the first place Florida Panthers. As this team, to me, might be one of the more exciting teams on trade deadline. They do have almost $4 million in cap space. They could do quite a bit of things here, and I'm excited because it's really looking like there's a good chance that Claude Giroux might go to Florida.
Claude Giroux.
From what I understand, the Philadelphia Flyers scouts were seen at a Checkers game. They are the AHL affiliate for the Florida Panthers. So there's that. That's one link. The Panthers have the cap space, assuming that there's 50% taken here and there, and maybe one contract sent out. I think he would be a fantastic fit. And you know what? You know who Giroux is to this team that they have been missing for, 4 years? Jaromir Jagr. Jagr was that, he didn't have that high-end speed maybe that the rest of the team had around him, especially the high-end guys, but just knows where to go, just reads the game so well, leads and can take guys under his wing. And that team wasn't making the playoffs. But this team's going to make the playoffs. Giroux's been to the Stanley Cup Finals. He can take guys under his wing, and he can play on the power play. You can have him be a third line center. It doesn't matter. You can have this guy play anywhere you want him to, and he's gonna fit in. He can play with the high end, super fast players, because you know what? Guess who was the All-Star MVP? Claude Giroux. The guy can play at fast speeds, but he can also, you can also put him with players that aren't going to blow by you. I mean, he played with Jacob Voracek for years, not known as a speed demon, and was able to more or less grind in the corners and use his smarts to be in the right place. I think that he is a far better fit for Florida than he is with the Avalanche, who is the other team, obviously, that he's been rumored to go to for the last 4 months. Your thoughts?
Very interesting indeed. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if there's any two teams, first off, let's just make it clear. The Flyers have told Claude Giroux, because of his contract, it's wherever you want to go, right? Where you say you want to go, we'll make the deal. And that's if he wants to go anywhere, right? So obviously the Flyers are doing their due diligence. They're going scouting. They're watching the games. If I'm looking at these two teams, right? If I'm Claude Giroux, these are the two teams that I want to go to, right? Tampa's going to have a hard time squeezing your cap figure, and so you can't really go there unless you get traded to 4 different teams and get a slice of that cap.
Four teams, that would be great.
Yeah, not going to happen. So let's just be frank about that. Honestly, I would probably, if I'm Claude Giroux, I would rather go to Colorado first, and I only say that because, obviously, right, if I had to pick between the two, just as far as who I think I'm more confident to win a Stanley Cup, I'm going to pick Colorado, right? And that's your ultimate goal.
I don't know that I agree, because Colorado, they're really built for the regular season. They've got the flash and the dash, but in the playoffs, who am I taking over? Do I want an Aaron Ekblad style defenseman, a guy who's just more than solid everywhere, or a Cale Makar who in the playoffs, my guess, isn't going to be able to do the things that he can do in the regular season?
No, I absolutely agree with you 100%.
No, he's still maybe the best defenseman in the game right now, at least the most capable with the puck. So it's not as if I'm writing him off and saying he's not useful or that he's not wouldn't be one of the better players in that series. But I just wonder. I wonder if Florida kind of has more like a playoff vibe to their team.
Listen, so my opinion on that, right? So I think Colorado's got enough, sandpaper, enough grit on their back end and up front to compete with the Floridas of the league, right? Now, I do think if you're looking at it in terms of getting there, I honestly believe that it's going to be easier for a team like Colorado to walk through their conference and their division than it would be for Florida. I think Florida's got way too many. I don't want to say way too many, because both conferences are going to be difficult to get through. But the way Nashville, Dallas, Minnesota are playing right now, if I'm Colorado, really the only team that scares me in their division is St. Louis. But their goaltending's been suspect, so who's going to start for them? When you look at the Pacific Division, yes, Calgary is, going to be tough to get by, but LA, Vegas, Edmonton, none of those teams scare me. So if you're Claude Giroux, you might look at Colorado and say, you know what, I think we're going to have an easier time getting to the Stanley Cup Finals than a team like Florida, who's got to go through Toronto or Tampa and even Carolina and Pittsburgh. So
that's a good point. That I agree. There's definitely not the same danger level. Other than maybe a Vegas with Mark Stone, I think we're maybe looking a little differently at a Mark Stone style Vegas.
Yes, if they can get healthy, if Robin Lehner can. I know Robin Lehner, there's been rumors he's still got a lingering injury in his shoulder. So if he can get back to form, or maybe they make a move to bring somebody else in, Vegas absolutely is going to be a hellhole to go through for sure.
A hellhole.
No one wants to go into that building. I mean, let's just be honest. It is one of the best buildings to go in come playoff time, or one of the worst if you're the away team. That's for sure.
Yeah, I dig you on the fact that there's not as much there that you're super afraid of. But at the same time, Colorado just has not been able to get out of the second round. That's been their Achilles heel. We'll see how they fare this year. I think obviously they're like, I see them kind of like Tampa Bay, where they were like, all right, we understand the regular season doesn't mean as much. Let's just take our time. Let's ease into it, which they did have a slow start, and then they got going, and now they're going. And I mean, this team right now, I think I saw they're on pace for the same for 62 wins.
Yep.
So it's not as if they're no slouch in the regular season. I just wonder about their goaltending. That's Darcy Kemper. He's never won a round. Granted, I know he was on the Arizona Coyotes. The last time he was in the playoffs was, in the bubble with Arizona. And then before that, with Minnesota in 14-15, he played one game. Before that, he played 6 games for Minnesota in 13-14. So not a whole lot of playoff experience. And for the most part, it was Arizona. It's so hard to knock them. But I want, when I look at Florida though, and I go, man, Sergei Bobrovsky, I know you could basically say the same thing in some respects. He's really struggled in the playoffs too. But man, Sergei Bobrovsky also in 18-19, he single-handedly beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it's not as if it's not there in him. He's got the ability to steal a series. We've seen it before, and he's really returned to that form. He actually he's on a better pace than his regular season in 18-19 when he did that in the playoffs. So I think I like Florida's goaltending better, and boy, in such a tight series where everything is both teams have great defense and a great forward group, the goaltending is what it might come down to. And I don't know if I feel super comfortable with Kemper, especially since there's really nothing behind him. Whereas if Bobrovsky kind of falters, I'm not super concerned because of what's behind him as well. But Spencer Knight, I guess Spencer Knight went back to the minors, didn't he?
Yeah, they gave him some time there to get his game together because he's not been so hot this year.
Yeah,
so,
trying to get him going. So
maybe if you're Florida, right, you look at maybe a number 3 goaltender to come in, maybe a Charlie Lindgren from St. Louis, if they're looking to move him at all. You could look at some other names out there, obviously, but to me, if I'm Florida, right, I mean, you talked about Claude Giroux. I think he would be a fantastic addition, and I would, obviously, you would not say no if you're Florida, right, if he comes knocking at your door and saying, hey, I want to come here and play. To me, I think the more pressing need, though, because I think they have plenty of talent up front. They've got enough depth scoring where I'm not worried if Barkov or Huberdeau go cold or get shut down where they're going to have issues scoring.
Sure, yeah.
I think a top 4 defenseman would be key for this team. Someone who can come in right now. I mean, on their number 2 power play, they've got Brandon Montour quarterbacking that thing. I would want somebody with a little bit more finesse, a little bit more magic to their game, and so maybe they go big and they go after a guy like Mark Giordano, a Hampus Lindholm, maybe even, or really swing big and go long term with Jacob Chychrun. But to me, that's a move I think better suited for Florida in the off season. But I think.
And if Florida is going, Mark Giordano, I could see it. I could see that. That obviously I think would require him to be moved to a couple places beforehand. It's hard with Hampus Lindholm. It's hard to say because we know that it's either he's traded or he signs before the deadline. I have a hunch. That they're going to sign him before the deadline, but I also Anaheim doesn't want to do term. That's what I've heard. Anaheim no term, like they don't want to do 8 years for Hampus Lindholm. So
oh no, well their GM now is Pat Verbeek, who's been sitting behind Steve Yzerman forever, and Steve Yzerman does not give out long-term deals to anybody outside of Steven Stamkos.
Right.
Wait, I think Stamkos already had his deal.
But Hampus Lindholm might be I guess Kucherov, Yzerman wasn't there when Kucherov signed his deal. But still, those are different kind of players than Hampus Lindholm. Although, Hampus Lindholm, boy, he might be the most underrated player in the NHL. Player, period. Phenomenal defenseman. Anaheim would be nothing without him in this season. I think he's a huge reason why they have done so well, and he's a big reason why that team has not been a absolute basement team in some years where they didn't have a whole lot going for them. He's been kind of their shining star. I think he could go anywhere, and in most places is going to be your number one defenseman. So that's I'm thinking he's getting big money if he goes to free agency and gets to go where he wants. I think he's getting like Darnell Nurse kind of money. 9.25, Seth Jones a 9.5. He's getting that kind of money on the open market.
Yeah, I could see $8.5 million plus easy for this guy, especially like you said, if he hits the market, right? And I think that's probably what the Ducks are struggling with right now because of their cap situation. They just, they're trying to build for the future, right?
I don't think that they're worried about his cap space today or next year or the year after or the year after. It's his style defenseman when he turns 33, 34, 35 in an 8-year deal, or a 8-year deal would be his 36. He's 28 now. So that's when you're starting to worry, because that's when you're going to be competitive, like really competitive. I could see the Ducks making the playoffs next year. I could also see them taking a little step back from what they did this year as well. Yeah, but I got to think that they're willing to go probably 6 years, 5 or 6 years with him. And if they're only going 5 or 6, it's going to have to be a big number. 9.5, 10. 10 would be a steep price for him. I don't know if I'd pay 10 for Lindholm.
No. But that's the other thing too. You have to think about, right? Because Cam Fowler signed at 6.5. You got to obviously give Hampus Lindholm a significant raise over a guy like that, and then in 2 seasons you got Jamie Drysdale coming up, and you got to hope too that you have another piece signed in there. Not to mention when you think about Trevor Zegras and the rest of the forward prospects they have up there, they're gonna have to shell out money here in the next 2-3 years with some players, and so that's the challenge, right? Is do you get him at a reasonable cap hit that again 4 or 5 years from now when he's starting to maybe decline a little bit, gives you that flexibility to still be competitive when your team is, back to Stanley Cup contender.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, speaking of Stanley Cup contender, let's move from one to another. Let's go from the Panthers. I think the Panthers don't necessarily need anything, but they could use anything. Anything that you add to that team is going to be gold. It's just a bonus of what they've already got going on. They have been fantastic so far this year. They're a plus 36. They're scoring. They're defending well. It's just a good team. They've won 6 in a row right now. They're hot. Let's go Tampa Bay. Because Tampa Bay has no cap space at all. And I don't know what they can really do because they're in a unique situation where there's no one player that you look and you go, okay, yeah, how about we trade who? Like, you're not going to deal someone, like a Cirelli or a Killorn, Palat. You're not going to deal anybody who's making decent money to free up space. That's just not going to happen. So what can the Lightning even do here? I think that they're stuck with the team they've got.
No, I absolutely agree. I think you look at that top six, right? You've got Palat, Point, Killorn, Kucherov, Cirelli, and Stamkos that are phenomenal, and I wouldn't change a thing right there. And now you look at your third line. Corey Perry's been playing great this year. Patrick Maroon, I love the sandpaper he brings, and you've got Belmar there at center. And then beyond that, right, you've got this good group of third line guys here that I think are filling out your bottom six that are more than significant for you to make a long run. Now, again, it's no Yanni Gourde, but what you can move out to bring someone in. Are you really going to improve upon what you already have, given your limitations in the cap space that you don't have right now, right? So, I think unless Tampa Bay swings big, and by swing big I mean like they trade a guy like Alex Killorn to move some money out, or even go as far as trading a Ryan McDonagh, which again is not going to happen, and you'd be stupid to do. So to me, there's really no move here that this team can make other than maybe swapping backup goaltenders, right? You maybe you don't feel so confident about Brian Elliott. I mean, he's been playing okay this year. I don't have a problem with him, but maybe you say, you know what? Hey, we want to bolster that backup goaltender position just a smidgen. So maybe you go and swap him out with a guy like, I don't know, Craig Anderson, who's at a league minimum $750, and you can save a couple bucks there, but now you've, maybe bolstered that backup position just a little bit more.
Yeah. I would guess that the Lightning at this point, it's like if Vasilevsky goes down, you're just not going to three-peat. That's it. It doesn't matter. Craig Anderson, it doesn't matter who you can bring in. They're not going to three-peat. You need him. You need him more than you needed him the previous 2 years.
No, absolutely.
You need him to be fantastic.
Not to mention they don't have a second, third, or fourth round pick, so they don't have the capital to really move, players in and out.
Well, and I think at this point you go, okay, we have won 2 cups in a row. I get it. You want to win a third. You have a great team, and you could win a third with this team. I think more would need to kind of go right than it did in the past. Like they were just so good in past years, but I think they could do it again. I think it's less likely, but it's they still have Vasilevsky. So I think if you look at this team, you go, don't waste future assets when you've just won 2 cups in a row. Hang on to your first round pick, make your selections, whatever. You go out in the first couple rounds, it's okay. No one's going to say anything to you. But it will be a problem if you trade your first round pick and then you lose in the first round or the second round, and then you're like, why did you do that? Like you didn't need to do that at this point.
Right.
Better, I think, to retool and look at the roster you have right now and go, we have maybe a better shot at winning a year from now again, or maybe in 2 years again, than we do right now, and that's okay. I think they still have probably another. They still have they have a 3-year, probably about a 3-year window, in my estimation. Maybe a 2 with McDonagh. Some of their players are coming up 32, 31, 30. Like that's where it gets tricky. But I think the way that Stamkos has been playing this year, I think he's probably got another couple years. But I mean, at the same time, you might just go, we won 2 in a row. Let's just roll. Let's roll the dice. Trade your first round pick. Make some bold moves, and see what you can do. Maybe it is man, you just don't want to trade the guys who have been impactful in your runs. That's you don't want to go. I mean, to me, Alex Killorn is he's 32. He's got 2 years left on his deal. If you were to move him now and then you were able to use your first-round pick to go out and acquire something else because now you have cap space, and let's say you could get, would you take Giroux over Killorn? I don't even know if that's worth it. And Killorn's been so good this year.
No, and Killorn brings a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. Killorn is not as good of a playmaker as a guy like Giroux, but he brings a lot more of those intangibles, and he still plays at a high rate of speed to be able to keep up.
Killorn is about to surpass his career high in points. I mean, he's having a great year. Now, granted, the year that he, the COVID shutdown year, he had 49 points in 68 games. So he would have had more. He probably would have had, closer to, I don't know, 55, 60 maybe. But he's having a great year. And you can't ignore that. He's 13 points ahead of where he was last year at the same pace. He's playing more like his playoff pace last year, where he had 17 points in 19 games. So you don't want to trade him. Giroux isn't enough of an upgrade. So you just don't have anybody that you'd want to move out. You're just kind of this. I mean, you built this team. You probably like it. They've won you two cups. You're not going to split it up to go and do something. I think they're just going to go ham and see what happens here.
Yeah, because the other thing is like, you have to, I mean, not necessarily looking too far ahead, but really you're going to lose Palat after this season because they're not going to have the money to re-sign him.
Dude, they don't even have any cap space already for next year.
And that's the thing, right? So now, right, in the off-season is where you make your moves if you want to retool, right? Because now you have to get Cirelli signed to a new contract, and he's going to cost you a few bucks. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting offseason for Tampa. So if I'm Tampa right now, I'm hanging still. I think they've got a good team. There's no sense in really moving any pieces to try to upgrade because you're not going to find anything better.
Okay, let's go to the hot Calgary Flames. No pun intended at all. They're just they're on fire. I don't know. I can't stop. The Calgary Flames have been very good all year long. Really, just like one stretch where they were so. Playing a lot of good teams back to back to back, and there was the COVID shutdown for them, so it made it look like they were a little further back in the division than they really were. And here we are. Everyone's pretty darn close in games played, and the Calgary Flames are rolling. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They've played fantastic at home and on the road. Really one of the few teams that have both a great home and away record in the Western Conference outside of Colorado. I mean, what can the Flames do after already acquiring Tyler Toffoli and Elias Lindholm's looking like a world beater right now? I mean, the Calgary Flames probably have the best first line in all of hockey in terms of talent and chemistry. That Tkachuk, Goudreau, and Lindholm line has just been phenomenal. Dude, Tyler Toffoli has a point per game since getting it. He's got 7 goals in 11 games so far. He's turned out very well.
Yeah, no doubt that was their trade deadline acquisition right there, right? That was the big prize they wanted. And like you said, 11 points in 11 games. The guy is playing phenomenal hockey right now. And again, no pun intended, but that top line is as hot as they come. Those guys, for whatever reason, Sutter has found a way to get each of them to play, I mean, just spectacular together. Tkachuk brings the grit, and he can still score goals. I mean, all 3 of these guys put up at least 23 goals this season, and they're at a plus 35 minimum. That's insane to me. Yeah. Out of 3 guys, 4 groups, 2 not defenders, mind you. So they're playing great at both ends of the ice. And really, when I look at this Calgary team, I think there's 2 things if I'm going to upgrade anything at all, because, again, I think this team is fine. Stay pat. There's no sense in really wasting any more draft capital because you don't have a 3rd, 4th, or 1st round pick. You've got 2 seconds, and so you have to continue to reload the cupboards for the future. And who knows what Johnny Gaudreau is going to do after this offseason? Is he going to leave for nothing, or are they going to get him re-signed? I mean, I think if they show they've got a bright future there, especially with Tkachuk being only 24, they can probably get him locked down. 8 years. I don't know if I would give him 8 years, but again, that might be the price to pay for a guy like him.
8 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless he doesn't want it. Unless he wants to, unless you pull like an Austin Matthews kind of deal where you get, maybe he gets $10-11 million and on a 5-year deal so he can get paid at 29 or something like that. But
sure. I mean, he's 28. Maybe I take a 2-3 year deal at the most and then recash in again. But again, I'm taking all the money I can right now at this point if I'm Gaudreau. So,
Gaudreau. I thought we were talking to Chuck. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No. Yeah. So yeah, at this point, I think if I'm Calgary, the only moves I'm making is maybe adding a little depth scoring, because you look at what this team has. That top six is rolling. I wish I could get a little bit more out of Monahan, and maybe that's because again his minutes are being very, very limited at this point. But again, maybe someone on that bottom six wing to come in and play. Maybe I look at, and it's got to be a league minimum type player too. So maybe at this point I'm looking at a guy like, for example, Zach Parise, right? I think he could come in and really give you some good goals for barely any money. I mean, he's making $750,000 right now. So
sure.
At that kind of money to get that type of production, I think would be pretty dang good right now at this point in his career. Or maybe I'm bringing in a guy like Jay Beagle, who can take faceoffs, do literally everything defensively, which I know is Sutter's type of player. So he could fit in very, very well in that bottom line, and he can win almost any kind of draw in the defensive zone for you. So, and then again, if I'm looking at a backup goaltender, maybe a Thomas Greiss, or worst case scenario, you could spend a couple more bucks and move some money out and bring in a Braden Holtby if you're worried about Jacob Markstrom.
I don't think you're worried about Jacob Markstrom.
No, I'm not worried at all. But again,
I'm worried about him getting hurt. But Daniel Vladar has been great.
Yeah, he's been good, but he doesn't have much experience. And Jacob Markstrom, again, I'm not worried about him as far as his ability to compete and everything like that. I mean, he only has 14. Yeah, it's the injury thing, right? You want insurance there because I think this Calgary team, again, if Gaudreau walks for nothing, you have to make a decision right at this point. Like, are we going to be as good as we were next year without a guy like that on the team? So, that's the only concern. So you might as well just go all in with goaltending if you want to right now and just have the insurance there.
Okay. Yeah. That's, defense to me, they could, look, they're a trade deadline and almost every playoff team is acquiring someone, that maybe they're in the minors, but they have NHL experience. Maybe they're kind of the guy who's not playing every night, but they're good enough to hop in an NHL line. Those guys. I hate to say a dime a dozen, but that's kind of how they are.
Right.
But we saw how important those guys were. When the Pittsburgh Penguins, when everybody went down and they were loaded up with all the players that they had acquired at the deadline like that, and it just goes to show like you need those types of players. So I mean they're out there. there are players that they could acquire in that sense, but I think that's all they can really afford to do. I mean, they just don't have the space anymore. They've got about a little less than $1 million. So barring like moving a guy down to the minors, if you acquire somebody, you might have like 1.2 million. So I also just, this team, out of any team that's near the top of the standings, is there another team that has like more team chemistry than the Calgary Flames right now?
Sure. Yeah.
Their team, that chemistry and the way that certain guys play together. I mean, Justin, this Milan Lucic has found a home. He's playing as good as you could ever hope that Milan Lucic could play, and has his role. He's got 9 goals in 56 games. I mean, he's playing well. And he's like chipping in a different type of way, in a way that they need him to be. Like it's not the same, but he's like, if this were 15 years ago, he's your fourth line fighter, but he's not really going out and fighting all that often. But he's creating that vibe, that intimidation factor that there are very few players in the league that can offer that and actually play. And he can play, and I mean, boy, he can throw some monster hits. and like those highlight reel hits that just get everybody going on the bench. I mean, you know what it's like to be you're a goalie and somebody just bowls over someone on the other team. It just gets everyone jacked up. So he's got to. It's just like everybody has their role. Everyone knows what to do. It's a very delicate place to be, though. You don't want to add the wrong guy to a situation like that, because it might be more fragile than you think. So we'll see what the Flames end up doing. Well, let's close it out with the LA Kings. Definitely the most unexpected team to be in our... Man, not only is this team in the playoffs, but like they're in the freaking playoffs. Like, it's sure looking good for them. 8-2 in their last 10. They won their last 3, and the LA Kings have some space. They've got $6.3 million in cap space. What do you think the Kings do with this space?
If I'm LA, honestly, I'm trying to just hang around, be competitive. I'm not going to try. I mean, obviously, yes, you want to go in and compete for a Stanley Cup like any other team that makes the playoffs. But if I'm LA, I'm not spending any assets. I'm not wasting any picks, or at least, first, second, or thirds for any sort of high-priced forwards, defensemen, because, again, they've got so many good young players on this team right now that I'm just getting them opportunities to compete in the playoffs and give them time to develop. That's what I want more than anything else for this LA Kings team. Now, if I have to go out and make a move for somebody, I think probably a veteran defenseman. Somebody who can come in, add some stability to that back end, because outside of Drew Doughty and Roy there, I mean, really, they're a little bit young. They're a little bit fresher. They've got some younger guys back there. So, maybe I'm trying to move a guy like Oli Mata out and bringing in somebody else that can fill in some top 4 minutes at an inexpensive cost. Perhaps it's a guy like, maybe a Brad Hunt or a Nick Leddy. You can get Detroit to eat some cap money there. Maybe a Justin Braun from Philadelphia, who's a little bit, again, older guys that have experience and can provide some leadership to that young core of players there. Because to me, again, that's the thing, right? You want to get these younger players time to develop, and LA is going to be competitive for a while. They have probably the best prospect pool in the entire NHL, so don't waste it right now when you're not really a true Stanley Cup contender like the Colorados, Floridas, or Tampas.
Yeah, I don't think that LA is the team that's going to go out and acquire a UFA. They're not there, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to take advantage of something that's going on for a player who maybe has some term. Looking around the league, teams that are willing to give up on players that actually have term that you can deal at the deadline, obviously is a little bit more complicated. Here's the thought, though. Right now, it's being said that the Minnesota Wild want a second-round pick for Jack McBain's rights to negotiate. Jack McBain's a BU or Boston College, I think.
Boston College, yep.
Prospect. He doesn't look like he's going to sign with the Minnesota Wild. He could sign wherever he wants, and he can play this year. We've seen this with like Adam Fox, Jimmy Vesey. We've seen it a few times, and it doesn't always, pan out to be this phenomenal player. But Jack McBain looks like he's going to be an NHL player when he signs with the team and comes over. What if that's like I'm willing if Jack McBain says, yeah, I'll sign in LA. Wow, am I willing to? I'll pay a second round pick to bring a younger guy in. Again, fits with the mold, right? Like he's a younger guy, but he's played 4 years of college hockey. So you're not going and bringing a player up who's 19 years old. So maybe that's you trade your second round pick, you get Jack McBain, and he comes in and he's able to contribute, and he has to sign an ELC. So you get him on the cheap as well, and then you worry, then in 2 years you'll worry about his about the next. But that to me is the type of move that LA should make, a move that will make them better now and will make them better later. And you know what? If he wasn't NHL ready, or he's just not beating people out, that's fine. You can send him to the American Hockey League, and he plays in the American Hockey League for the remainder of the season and gets to play in the playoffs down there. You lose the second round pick, but you know what? Everyone in the league, I think, if they were guaranteed to sign Jack McBain, they would trade a second round pick for him. I think almost everyone in the league would.
Yeah, the other thing I'm hearing too is Minnesota's also willing to take a look at a rental UFA for McBain as well. Now, again, are they going to just take the UFA, or are they going to take the UFA and maybe a lesser pick, right?
I guess it depends on the rental, right?
Right. Now, if I'm Minnesota, maybe I'm looking at an Andre Athanasiou right now, right? If I'm LA, who's, again, he's a UFA 27, the guy is fast as lightning, can still, has a little finesse to his game, and you put him with the right people. And I know, again, he started his career as a center and has been more traditionally on the wing. But again, that gives you a little bit more depth as far as, Minnesota's concerned, because that's a team that could really use center depth right now. And again, we know, the rest of, LA, they've got plenty of centermen down the pipeline between Quentin Byfield and Turcock, so they don't have to really worry about losing another potential centerman. And again, at 27 years old, Anthony C is not going to be in their long-term plans. Now, he might be in the short-term plans. They might be planning to re-sign him for 2 or 3 years, but long-term, right, he's not there. So he's a guy you could part with for a guy like McBain. He's
also someone that you're going to want around in the playoffs. I think, he can, he's a good guy. You can move him up and down your lineup. He actually has 3 goals in the last 2 games. He 3 goals in the last 5, or 4 goals in the last 5 games. He's been hot since coming back off of injury. He's only played 21 games so far this year. But yeah, I mean, I think he got hurt a couple times, because he didn't even play his first game until November the 5th. And then he got hurt late December. So it's kind of been and LA only had 5 games all of February. So that makes it weird. That's so it's but when I look at what he brings to the table, it would be tough to give up Athanasiou for a player that has never played in the NHL, and maybe you're hoping he could take his place, but you don't know. And Athanasiou has 6 years of experience in the National Hockey League, playing the penalty kill. Like he's very useful. So I don't know that would be the player you'd give up. I could see a team that's out of the playoffs trading a rental for Jack McBain. I could see that, where it's like, hey, we're going to miss the playoffs. We'll take this guy. You take our rental. If they had the cap space, it would be a great piece in a Claude Giroux move, though.
Oh,
that would be a nice piece. I mean, Minnesota after this year, they aren't going to have any cap space.
No.
Next year they have a projected $10 million in cap space, but they have to re-sign Kevin Fiala. They're losing Goligoski. And Capo Kakinen is an RFA, so they're going to need to. I think it's Parise and Suter. They both jump up to 6.371 each. So and
there's already reports out there about them trading for Shea Weber's contract, so they can help alleviate some of that dead cap space there too. But
yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, so that they can use the LTIR space as more space. Yeah, it's an interesting prospect. That's the Minnesota Wild. LA Kings. I have a hunch that they could do something, because yes, they are a young team, but they also did just go and trade for Victor Arvidsson, who's 28. They signed Philip Deneau long-term, who's 29. It's not as if this team is a young team all around. I mean, Kopitar's 34, Doughty's 32. This might be an opportunity missed if you don't take a shot, especially since what you said earlier in the show, the Western Conference is kind of wide open. Like, if somebody knocks Colorado off early, then everything is like a crapshoot almost. Like, you could sneak through in the West. I don't think that it would be the worst thing for LA to maybe trade a first-round pick if they could get the right player in there to enhance their team.
Yeah, now I have heard their name linked to Jacob Chikrin a few times, so there's a big name splash you could make if you wanted to say, hey, Kopitar, Brown, we're gonna get rid of this first rounder, we're gonna move some pieces, and we're gonna bring in a big name guy to help on the back end there.
And that move makes sense for them. They really don't have much on the back end, in terms of money.
Right, and so even in the long term, right? It's a smart move to have a guy like that, anyways.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's the final 14. I was kind of going through trying to figure out who else we hadn't hit on. I think that we might have missed a couple teams. I think it's maybe like the Predators and the Blues. Did we do the Predators? I don't remember.
Yes, we did do the Predators. We have done the St. Louis Blues.
There you go. See,
we haven't done Dallas. If you want to count,
what would we do without you, Justin? Yeah, there we go.
I write things down, but
I do too. They're just in old notes. I'm not looking at my old note. Okay, yeah. All right, see here. Yeah, Avalanche, Wild, Blues, Predators is what we did. Yeah, we could do the Dallas Stars. That's probably and maybe it's time we jump into some of these non-playoff teams. But we're like rapidly approaching the trade deadline as we speak anyway. So, the trade deadline is Monday, March 21st. So, actually, I'm leaving for South Carolina again. I'm going on my second vacation in 2 weeks. I don't know how that worked out that way, but that is what it is. I'm just taking all my vacations all at once. And then I'm just going to slave for the next 11 months. I'm wondering, I mean, at this point, we're just going to do our next show is probably going to be a trade deadline show. You're just going through all the trades anyways, right? Because I'll be gone. So look forward to that. We will be breaking down all the trade deadline trades. We like to give it we're not going to be second by second on all the trades. We like to see 3 p.m. comes. We'll look at all the deals and we'll begin to dissect everything that happened on trade deadline. So look for that. You can follow us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk. Justin, have a wonderful week next week. Good luck, doing whatever it is you're going to do with your cottage that you bought. I'm just calling it a cottage now.
Might as well.
Even though it's your house.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You're turning a cottage into a house, basically, is what you're doing.
I love it.
Because the people before thought they turned a cottage into a house, and then they went, oh, we forgot insulation. Who forgets the insulation? It's not like they did that in 1931. Even in 1931, they had insulation. They had, sheep. They could throw the sheep wool in there.
Yeah, and I just took down another light fixture that was hanging on literally by one nail.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect.
There you go. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's lovely, the things that you can find. I found a bat in my attic today. A dead one. It was dead. But it looked It looked like a piece of ripped, the back part of insulation, how it's a little black on the back? Mm-hmm. Especially the older stuff. And it looked like just like a ripped piece of insulation, and I kind of kicked it, and then I looked at it, was like, wait a second, that's not a piece of insulation, that has legs. And wings. It was a dead bat. We had bats at one point, but they're gone. They died. And apparently, well, they left. We got them out and then blocked off the entrance. But obviously somebody got stuck inside. Oops, sorry. My bad. Don't call PETA on me. All right, Justin, have a good rest of your day. And to our listeners, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys. Trade deadline day, March 21st. Well, it'll probably be the next day, but when you're hearing it. But okay, I should probably just hit the end button, call it good, because I'm rambling. Talk to you guys soon.